From the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of the Pacific, American steel rolled into history. These are the vehicles that won World War II. Let's break them down. M2 light tank. The M2 was America's pre-war training wheels. It had this weird twin turret setup that looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it taught American crews the basics before the real fighting started. M3 Scout Car. Before half-tracks dominated, we had the M3 Scout Car, basically a wheeled box with machine guns. Patton himself used one early in the war. Fast, reliable, but totally exposed. M3 GMC tank destroyer. Take a half-track, slap a 75mm gun on it, and you've got the M3 GMC. It was a desperate improvisation that actually worked in the Philippines and North Africa before better options arrived. M6 GMC Fargo. The Fargo was a pickup truck with a 37mm gun strapped to the bed. Sounds ridiculous, and honestly, it kind of was. German armor quickly outgrew this thing. M3 Lee. Grant. The Lee was awkward. A 75mm gun in the hull, a 37mm in the turret, tall as a barn. But when Britain was desperate in North Africa, this Frankenstein tank delivered the firepower they needed. M3 Stuart Honey. The Stuart was America's first real combat tank. British crews called it Honey because it was sweet to drive. The 37mm gun was weak, but this thing could scout like nobody's business. M4 Sherman. The Sherman wasn't the best tank in the war, it was the most important. Reliable, easy to fix, and built by the tens of thousands. American industry on tracks. M2 half-track. The M2 was the shorter half-track cousin, mainly used to tow artillery. Wheels in front, tracks in back. It could haul guns through mud that would swallow a regular truck. M3 half-track. This is the iconic half-track. The M3 carried infantry into battle, protected from shrapnel and small arms. If you've seen a World War II movie, you've seen this vehicle. M5 Stuart. The improved Stuart, quieter, cooler, with twin Cadillac engines. It kept scouting for the Allies right until the end, proving light tanks still had a role. M5 half-track. Built by International Harvester for Lend-Lease, the M5 was essentially an M3 with different guts. British, Canadian, and Soviet forces used thousands of them. M7 Priest. Named for the pulpit-like machine gun mount, the Priest put a 105mm howitzer on a Sherman chassis. Mobile artillery that could keep up with the tanks. M8 Scott. The Scott mounted a stubby 75mm howitzer on a light tank chassis. Perfect for close-range work, blasting bunkers and machine gun nests to clear the way. M8 Greyhound. Fast, quiet, deadly. The Greyhound was a six-wheeled armored car that raced ahead of columns, spotted the enemy, and disappeared. The cavalry loved it. M9 half-track. International Harvester's version of the utility half-track, shipped all over the Allied world. American industrial power wasn't just feeding our army, it was feeding everyone's. M10 Wolverine. The Wolverine was a Sherman chassis with an open-top turret and a 3-inch gun. Not flashy, but it was the workhorse American tank destroyer of the war. M20 Armored Utility Car. A Greyhound without the turret. The M20 moved commanders, hauled cargo, and provided quick transport through dangerous zones under light armor. M20 to Locust. The Locust was designed to fly literally. Small enough to fit in a glider, it gave airborne troops their own armor. Cool concept, limited use. M1 to GMC King Kong. They called it King Kong for a reason. A 155mm gun on an old tank chassis, built to crack open German bunkers along the Siegfried Line from long range. M18 Hellcat. The Hellcat was built for one thing: speed. At 50 miles per hour, it was the fastest track vehicle of the war. Hit and run was the name of the game. Willys MB. Ford GPW Jeep. Eisenhower said the Jeep was one of 3 tools that won the war. Tiny, tough, and capable of going anywhere. The universal symbol of American liberation. Dodge WC Series Beep. When the Jeep was too small, you grabbed a Dodge, 3/4-ton trucks that served as ambulances, weapons carriers, and command vehicles everywhere. LVT-1 Alligator. the alligator used paddle-like tracks to swim and crawl up beaches. This thing unlocked the Pacific island hopping campaign. You couldn't take those islands without it. M29 Weasel originally designed for a covert Norway mission, the Weasel could go through swamps, snow, and mud that would stop anything else. Tiny but unstoppable, LVT to water buffalo, the improved alligator with better suspension. The water buffalo became the Marines' workhorse, hauling supplies from ship to shore under fire. Chevrolet G506, the 1.5-ton Chevy, often gets overlooked, but it was everywhere, hauling troops, towing artillery, even serving on the frozen Eastern Front via Lend-Lease. GMCCCKW Deuce and a half, the backbone of the Red Ball Express. Over 500,000 built, creating an endless river of supplies that fueled the Allied advance across Europe. LVT-4 The LVT-4 moved the engine forward and added a rear ramp. Now troops and jeeps could roll straight onto the beach under cover instead of climbing over the sides. DUKW Duck, a 6-wheel drive truck in a boat hull. The Duck could drive off a ship, swim to shore, and keep rolling miles inland without stopping. Logistics genius. LVT-1 An alligator with teeth. This variant mounted a 37mm turret, turning the landing craft into an amphibious tank hunter for the first wave of Marines. M36 Jackson. When tigers and panthers showed up, the Allies called for the Jackson, a 90mm gun that could finally knock out heavy German armor from long range. M4 high-speed tractor. When artillery got too heavy for trucks, this tractor took over. It dragged massive anti-aircraft and field guns through terrain that would stop anything else. LVT-4 The Marines wanted bigger firepower, so they swapped the 37mm for a 75mm howitzer. Floating artillery that could blast beach defenses at point-blank range. M4 OGMC arriving late in the war, the M40 paired the devastating 155mm long tom gun with a wider Sherman chassis. Mobile firepower for the final push. M4 105mm assault gun, not a tank destroyer, a bunker buster. A 105mm howitzer jammed into a Sherman turret gave tank platoons their own high-explosive sledgehammer. M4 3HMC The M40's big brother swapped the 155mm for a massive 8-inch howitzer. This thing leveled fortifications during the final push into Germany. Diamond T980 981st The heavyweight champion. This 12-ton beast hauled tank transporter trailers, moving damaged or operational armor without wearing out the tank's tracks. M30 to tank recovery vehicle, a Sherman with a fixed turret and a massive crane. The M30 to brave the front lines to winch damaged tanks out of mud and tow them to safety. M1 heavy wrecker, the mechanic's best friend. This beast of a truck had cranes and winches that could lift engines, flip overturned vehicles, and clear roads for convoys. Harley-Davidson WLA Liberator, modified for war with submachine gun mounts and blackout lights, the Harley carried couriers and MPs through chaotic war zones. Indian 741, while Harley got the spotlight, the Indian 741 quietly did the work. Lighter and smaller, thousands went to British and Commonwealth forces. Ford staff car, based on civilian sedans. The Ford staff car gave officers a relatively comfortable ride between headquarters. Painted olive drab, unarmored, but functional. Chevrolet staff car, the Chevy rival to the Ford, a militarized master deluxe that ferried generals across safe zones, a small reminder of civilian life in the middle of chaos. From jeeps to juggernauts, American industry didn't just supply an army, it supplied a global coalition. And as technology evolves, one thing's certain, the machines of war will keep rolling forward.